I really need to pull out
This
my
is right.
thing.
I call this meeting of the Sedro-Woolley City Council to order. Please rise and join me in the flag salute.
Just said it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all for coming. For the record, all staff are present, as are all council members. First off, consent calendar. Council, before you are items A through F. If you see anything you want pulled, let me know. Otherwise,
I move that we accept items A through F.
Second.
Well, I did have a question.
okay,
Oh, okay.
go ahead.
Just a quick question as to who is our contract with for yard waste disposal? I know Skagit Soils we are making the contract with them, but then I saw a check written to North Hill for yard waste disposal, so I was just curious as to...
Well, the Skagit Soils is who our contract is currently with, and this extends that. So that's who we take yard waste to. I suspect North Hill is probably where we purchased material from.
Okay, it says disposal on the check register, so...
I don't see Nathan kicking around. Do you have any idea, Mark? Disposal? Oh, well, then maybe it's an alternate site, or it could be different material. Could also be concrete or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. We could find out, though, if you'd like to know the specifics of that particular check.
Motion was made by Councilmember Judith Dunley and seconded by Councilmember Cornegay to approve consent calendar items A through F. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. And it carries unanimously. Thank you, Council. That brings us to item 4, and one of our special guests tonight, Mr. John Sternlick, Executive Director of EDASC, and he's got a presentation for us. And welcome, John, as always.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I'm very pleased to be here and talk about EDASC. I'll talk for a little bit, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, whether you wait to the end or burst in. I don't really mind either way. So let's see. What do I point it at? Oh, all right. Let's find out.
Well, this is the center of technology innovation.
Clearly it is. So just generally about EDASC, we are the economic development organization for the county. And technically, the State Department of Commerce has one associate development organization for every county that the county chooses. And for us, it's EDASC. For example, for Whatcom County, it's the Port of Bellingham, the Port of Chelan. It's different in every county. But we are tasked with economic development for the whole county. So we represent the county and all 4 cities and all 4 towns, the 2 ports, other governmental organizations like the PUD, school districts, nonprofits, and the entire for-profit business sector, which would include everything: industry, commerce, agriculture, anything else you might think of. So in effect, the county, the cities, and the towns outsource their economic development function to EDASC, so the counties, cities, and towns don't have to employ an economic development staff. In terms of economies of scale, that tends to work out really well. Plus, everyone doing economic development independently in silos tends not to work very well from a coordination standpoint, especially for a county of our size. So our strategic plan that we finished in 2016 has 3 different focuses. It's business recruitment, business retention and expansion, and capacity building to make us even more prosperous and have a better chance to succeed. So as a nonprofit, as a public-private partnership, in many ways we don't have the restrictions that local governments have, and it's easier for us to deal in economic development matters, but we, of course, still do so with full transparency and lots of communication. So after the strategic plan comes the work plan. How do you get all the work done? And we have 5 different categories for this year's efforts. New economic growth, which would be statistically most growth in employment, in jobs, and in revenues comes from existing business. New business is a smaller amount, but you have to keep fertilizing the economy with new businesses. So we have to find also ways to make new money from existing businesses, new products, new markets, new ventures. And then in that category would be things like the tourism promotion area that I'll probably be back soon to talk more in detail about, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have those.
May I just ask one quick question?
Yes, sir.
Do you have this on your website so I can look at it a little easier?
The presentation?
Yeah.
No, I'd be happy to send it to you.
Oh, no,
I'm sorry, just the work plan?
Yeah.
Yes, that's on the website.
Okay. Where would it be, do you know? Just to make it easier. It's at a funky angle for me, so.
Oh, right. On the website, I'm not sure. It would probably be
Studies.
somewhere connected to the strategic plan.
If there's a search thing,
Yeah,
it'll be...
then you could do work plan.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's all right. I'm sorry. I just pulled it up as a document, so I have different ways to find it. We also want to do things to find ways to be more prosperous with what we're doing. If there are regulations or zoning matters or other things that are unintentionally getting in the way, how do we work with those? Then building foundations for the future, the main thing there is broadband. And there are parts of the county that are not adequately served. And as you know, it's pretty much like rural electrification was a few decades ago. You couldn't really do business if you weren't electrified. Now, if you don't have broadband access, you can't enter the stream of commerce. You can't even do your homework. You can't do telemedicine. You can't do a degree online or any of those kinds of things. We're also working with STEM, and of course that started as Sedro-Woolley STEM and now is Skagit STEM. And we're very active with that because one of the biggest issues in economic development is workforce, and how do we make sure that our kids are able and equipped to take the jobs of the future. Because you've probably heard that some of the jobs in biggest demand 5 to 10 years from now don't even exist yet. So that makes it really tricky to predict what might be there. We've identified other priority issues that affect economic development, and one of those would be housing, having adequate housing. We've had a number of employers say that they've offered jobs to people and they accept, only to find out that they take that back once they realize they can't find any place to live here. So the housing issue affects lots of different parts of our economy and our community. Building the Skagit brand and global partnerships. Part of that is identifying Skagit County as a prime location. We have a lot of advantages, geographic, cost, other sorts of access, other sorts of things like that. But also in terms of agriculture, identifying our products with high quality and wholesomeness and health, other things that would give us that sort of recognition and identification for all the agricultural products that come from here. We are working to make that brand known. We've redone our website, and that's how most people from outside of Skagit County or outside of Washington or even outside of the U.S. would find out about us. So we've got to put our best foot forward there, identify what the advantages are of doing business here, and make that case as much as we can. We're also working on building new customer bases, as I mentioned, for products from here, whether they're agricultural or industrial. Find new markets, find new products, and new ways to make money. One of the value-added agriculture ventures takes wheat that was before just a rotation crop that didn't make anybody any money, and turning it into bread and beer The Bread Lab had its, well, I would say ribbon cutting, but it was actually a baguette breaking today. And that's been a great catalyst for bringing other businesses in here that are attracted by the research that's done and the opportunities that exist. Also, inclusive growth. We continue to support the growth of small and medium-sized businesses and enterprises in all our communities. We have partnerships with the Small Business Development Center, with the Service Corps of Retired Executives, the Northwest Innovation Research Center, and the Northwest Agricultural Business Center to advise all kinds of people who are inventors and running small businesses, who are in agriculture, who have farms. And we provide not only the collective, because we don't want to duplicate efforts. We provide classes in business advising and workshops, also in conjunction with the college. And there are also these services that are available in Spanish for business advising to help the Latino community overcome that extra obstacle and help them succeed in business. And then Skagit County's voice as a regional leader, building our story. We partner with the surrounding counties, so Whatcom Island and San Juan. We're all very different, but we have some community of interest. So when we're, for example, looking for companies in other places, if we don't have the right kind of building or site that fits the bill, but we know Whatcom does, we'll mention that. And in fact, just last week or the week before, we got a project from Whatcom where they thought they had it. Turns out that the site didn't have the right infrastructure and didn't have the right workforce, so they called us up and they said, hey, you think you can accommodate these people? And we said, you betcha. So it's nice to have that kind of relationship with the neighbors. Business attraction or recruitment. We get leads from the State Department of Commerce that we respond to, and we also look to create a pipeline of our own for companies that fit our area, that fit the sectors that we're good in, and that fit the sites that we have available. So we've created a rapid response team to deal with requests that come in or opportunities that come in on a short turnaround. And we reach out to the city of Sedro-Woolley on virtually every opportunity we find, because there are some good sites here. I will say that any kind of updating of information of sites that you have, we would really appreciate, because we put those on our website as well, so there's a search function on there. You know, most economic development site selection processes go on late at night in somebody's kitchen if they're a consultant or working for a company, because they get online and they do their shopping there. So we need to have that up. And we've proposed properties here for several requests and waiting to see what happens there. We've also been working globally to try to attract interest here in ways that make sense. Mayor Wagner has participated with 2 inbound delegations from China with his wife, and we really appreciate your presence and her interpretation services.
It's good to have your own translator. So.
Yes, indeed it is. And that does make a big impression. So it's these delegations are folks who are coming in looking for different opportunities to do business together, either buy products here, sell products, invest in something that's going on here. So those are really great opportunities, and we appreciate the participation. For business retention and expansion, you've probably heard about our cluster connections. We have 13 economic clusters that we're looking at, in addition to the ones you would expect, like manufacturing and finance and real estate and construction. We're also looking at things like nonprofit organizations, arts and culture, tourism, and outdoor recreation, because those are all things that really affect our economy as well, and also make this such a great place to live. So that has really been helpful. We also, for business retention and expansion, provide individualized services to companies that are either having some kind of issue or obstacle or that are trying to expand. And so we had great dealings with Truck Vault. We worked with Eagle Haven and with other companies here as well as around the county. One of the things we're finding a lot of is that as the baby boomers are finding other things they're interested in doing rather than working in the businesses they founded and nurtured for the last 40-some years and working 60 or 80 hours a week, they may find other things they want to do, and they want to transition the ownership of the business while keeping it here. So you may have seen the article in the Herald about Eddy Line, which is a company at the port that we help transition ownership and stay there, and they're going to expand shortly with new ownership, with employee ownership. And those are the kinds of requests that we're getting more of these days. So that's an important aspect of business retention and expansion. We've been working on planning, economic development, and brand strategies and other things with the communities in the eastern part of the county, including Concrete and Hamilton particularly. So there are three major projects I'm going to mention. One I alluded to, the tourism promotion area. There's a work session with the commissioners on Monday where we're going over the interlocal agreement. This is for a former lawyer even, this is a very technical, very legislative bound project and has very particular rules. So we did engage a lawyer, or as I call her, a real lawyer, to do the work for that. And the county, the cities, and the towns will all be asked to sign the interlocal agreement that governs that. Hotels with 40 rooms or more will charge a fee of $2 a room night, and that fee goes to fund a destination marketing organization. You may know that Washington is the only state in the country without a state tourism authority or organization. It is what it is. And so we're kind of left to our... We used to have one, I think until about 6 years ago, something like that. And it fell victim to budget issues. But as I think we all know, you have to spend a little money to make more money. And we were left to our own devices here. Without this TPA, everybody individually is left to his or her own devices for attractions and hotels, retail stores, restaurants, festivals, whatever it might be. So this would, and we would house it at EDASC, at least initially, to incubate it and not have to spend money to create a new organization. And this would work to bring more visitors and more tourist dollars to all of Skagit County. So from the North Cascades Loop and the crown jewel of the Cascades all the way to the gateway to the San Juan Islands, we'll be able to draw a lot more people here and do a lot more with that revenue we get. And we've also been talking about ways to maximize opportunities during the less busy time of the year. So we're talking about a Winter Birds Festival. There have been suggestions about what they're calling a Flash Festival to celebrate the yearly opening of Highway 20. Just new opportunities to have a little hoopla.
Closing, for that matter.
Or we could do that too. No reason why we couldn't. So the one hotel in Sedro-Woolley that comes into this category has signed the petition, and it's been signed by more than the required 60% of all the hotels that come in that category in the county. So that part is moving forward, and I'll start again with my TPA tour of city and town council meetings sometime fairly soon. Fiber, as I mentioned earlier, this is in partnership with the port and the county and all the cities and towns, and Mark has been helpful in this effort too, to try to make sure we have an overall seamless plan to get everybody covered. And the first leg of that we expect to be finished by the end of this calendar year. So that will be a really great thing when that is done, and the effort is meant to connect us from Concrete to Guimas at least. And then, as I had mentioned, Skagit STEM, formerly known as Sedro-Woolley STEM, very important with the workforce effort, and along with that comes career-connected learning and early learning and other issues like that, where we want to make sure that we have the workforce we need and that our kids are prepared to take those jobs. I cannot omit the EDASC Foundation, which is also part of EDASC. And Leadership Skagit is part of the EDASC Foundation. We have two distinguished recent alumni, and I don't know if anybody else has been through Leadership Skagit, but that's a great leadership training and orientation program, and I know sometimes Kate Bennett calls it the backstage pass to Skagit County. So that's been a really good, if you will, feeder program to lots of volunteer boards and elected positions in the county. We also have Next Exec 2.0, which is sort of an analog to that, only in management training. So if you are rising through the ranks in your company and you need some maybe continuing education in any of a number of fields, HR or marketing or change management or any of those kinds of organizational things, this is something you can get right here in Skagit County and not have to travel. We have, I think, about 22 people from companies all around, and a couple, I think, even come down from Whatcom for this program. So I went through that about as fast as I could, because I know you all have other things to do and probably, maybe, possibly some questions.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I was curious I always wondered how you differentiate, how do you customize how you serve different cities and towns?
That's a great question. Thanks. It's really a twofold approach, because on the one hand, we have to have an approach for all of Skagit County, sort of an umbrella approach, an overarching strategy, and that's why I put earlier local and regional economic development, because there are some things that you really have to do as an umbrella. But then for each individual municipality, each one is different, and each one has its own designs about what it is and what it wants to be, and has different advantages, which is actually kind of great for the whole, because, you know, if you don't find what you're looking in this place, you'll probably find it over here. But we have to look at it in two different ways at the same time. What's the overarching thing, and then what do you, Sedro-Woolley or Burlington or Concrete, what do you want to do and what do you want to be and what are your priorities? So it's not one size fits all, and it really can't be. That wouldn't make any sense. So we also like to promote every municipality through our website, so we get information from every city and town, you know, how do you want to portray yourself? And there may be some things that they do that really aren't EDASC kind of things, maybe something having to do with residential real estate, which is great, but if that's what you want to promote, we'll help you do that, but that's not an EDASC kind of thing. So if Anacortes is more interested in maritime, if Burlington is more interested in retail, if Mount Vernon wants to do some downtown revitalization, you know, what does Sedro-Woolley want to do? What direction? What are the priorities? Those are the questions that we ask. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, John, you might mention in Anacortes the additional services that EDASC provides.
Right. Anacortes asked us, it had been a long-standing project that they had never gotten going, to do a strategic plan for the maritime sector itself. And that's kind of drilling down a great deal from our own EDASC strategic plan. So they signed a separate contract with us to do that project. So right now we're in the middle of stakeholder interviews and all that with folks all across the maritime industry, which covers manufacturing and recreational and tourism. It touches issues of land use and workforce and housing and downtown zoning and all those sorts of things. So that's a separate kind of drill down effort that we're working on with them.
And I'm not sure you made it clear that they pay extra for that service. It's not just because the Anacortes is special.
That's exactly right. Or maybe they're special because they pay extra for it. I don't know how that works. But no, that's an extra contract. And we do have a couple of contracts with, for that example, Anacortes, and with other organizations. We've tried to diversify our sources of revenue, so we have some grant applications in where we're doing work in various different areas. We've increased our private sector revenues by more than 50%, so we're always looking for new ways to support the organization.
I guess locally we have like private developers building things, and public we have like the port. Does EDASC ever see themselves in that role of developing sites for others to use?
I know in other places there are industrial development authorities and that kind of thing. EDASC doesn't have any of those powers to do that, and we do in fact work very closely with the port. But we have no financing capabilities or development. I think we do a good job as advisors, consultants, problem solvers, and all that sort of thing, but we have neither the money nor the authority to do that. In some states they do.
Anybody else for John? So I just want to thank you, John. You guys do a great job over there, and especially with the new foreign interest in the Valley. I know that's something that has generated since you've been there. Very new and very exciting to me. And I appreciate, in my other hat, on the rotating loan committee, you guys provided really valuable information to help us make decisions about where we're going with that in the future. So the value of the data is really good, and you got great people.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, we do on the international thing.
Yes.
For a small economic development organization in a rural county, we have 5 foreign languages that were capabilities in the office. So we're good partners with the State Department of Commerce, and they like having us around.
I thought you spoke 5.
Not quite. Oh. And we have Sean, who speaks Japanese, and Andrew speaks Portuguese. So we have a good distribution.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and I'm happy to come back anytime.
That's right.
All right. So is Bill's presentation loaded? Did you have a presentation for the computer? Yes, please. So next up, here comes Bill from Community Action, Bill Henkel. And Bill's been before us before, and we always appreciate getting an update.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Now I think we always see this.
I assumed already have.
So we have your sheet.
There's a third, though?
There is a third in there.
All right, well, I'll pass them down.
Thank you.
Are they all labeled info sheet?
And we have extras, so if anybody in the public would like a couple.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Bill Hinkle from Community Action, Skagit County. It is kind of you all to give me a few minutes of airtime, as well as John, in one council meeting. Thank you. That's generous. I just want to say I'm a big fan, before he leaves for his next gig, I'm a big fan of John and EDASC too. He mentioned Eddie Line as a transition. Scott Howley, who's our finance director on our board, is the new owner of Eddie Line, and what a neat connection that was made. EDAS's attention to workforce housing is something near and dear to us. their nonprofit cluster we're a part of, and I'm a proud graduate of Leadership Skagit too. Julia from this year, Jermaine, were you in this year's?
Last year.
Last year's, okay. So congratulations. And thank you, Mayor and council members, and Jermaine and Julia are also on our board, so thank you for your service. I always like to say I am so impressed with public servants because I went through Leadership Skagit, and that's all about servant leadership. I thank you for your service and your leadership. It's impressive to step up and serve, and I know it's not an easy gig sometimes. I'll try to make it easy on you tonight. And thank you. In 2016, $5,400 went into our critical needs support. It helps Sedro-Woolley residents through times of crisis. We did, you'll see in a second, I'm going to talk about our service to Sedro. 4,250 residents served. That's $1.28 per person of your investment, so hopefully you found us a good deal in 2016. And more of that in a minute. I wanted to cover three things tonight. The first thing is probably most important to you all, our service to the residents of Sedro in 2016. Mayor Wagner mentioned that you've seen us before. We like to come in spring or summer after we've crunched the year's numbers from the year prior and really done a good job of going through and making sure it's reliable. So it's pleased to be here tonight. There's in that handout you also see our countywide service, so I just wanted to make sure you had that. I want to spend just a minute or two talking about our potential relocation to Burlington, which is a bit closer to Sedro, and let you guys know about that project. And then I'll end with just a few snippets of the people we served in partnership with you all. Countywide, I'm mainly going to go through the Sedro numbers, but countywide in 2016 we served just shy of 33,000 people in Skagit County. That does include just under 3,500 volunteers. We host the Skagit Volunteer Center, and we link up with 160 nonprofit partners. So people who want to volunteer and are not sure where to go come through us, and we get them linked up with hopefully meaningful opportunities. And so if you subtract that, it's about 29,000, but about 27% of Skagit County's population we touched in 2016, about 27%, including the 3,500 volunteers. That's up from about 26,000 in 2015. It's not that each year we jump 5,000. It hasn't been quite like that, but we have seen this deal of our numbers going up generally. And our Housing Resource Center, which is one of our services, it's a first stop for people experiencing homelessness or on the verge of it. Similarly saw a pretty good leap in numbers from about 1,700 to just shy of 2,200 people in 2016, 70% of whom were literally homeless. So that's a pretty staggering number. And again, at the moment I'm talking countywide, and I'm going to switch over to Sedro. We have been, I won't talk a lot about housing tonight. We have been out doing a lot of conversations in the community about the need for housing. John brought it up as well. We see it, I hope the word crisis isn't too alarmist, but it's a big deal. HUD did a housing situation of Skagit County back in 2014, and a number popped out at me, which I like to share with people. It's a bit sobering, but in 1990, in Skagit County, in 1990, renters on average spent 36% of their income on housing. In 2012, that percentage grew to just under 54%. So 1990, 36, 2012, about 54%, 53.8% to be precise.
So that's a squeeze on people. That's why we're seeing more that's one of the drivers to seeing homelessness. I don't know if you're seeing it in Sedro. We certainly see it a lot in Mount Vernon on the street. But it's also a squeeze on all families. And it's certainly sending more people through our doors. So it's something we're concerned about on the advocacy level, on the service level, and now moving forward, our organization wants to expand our role in actually developing housing that people can afford in partnership with some local builders. So it's something that we want to work on. Now, Sedro-Woolley's residents, we captured in our database, and that's, I think, the lead sheet that you should have. Just shy of 2,600 residents. Not captured was another 1,655. The reason that number wasn't captured in our database, there are programs that we don't put client information into our database because of confidentiality reasons. For instance, our legal program and our behavioral health outreach and the like. And also our volunteers aren't in there as well. So that's 4250. If I did my math correctly, and it's possible I didn't, I think that's about 37% of your population, if you include the number that we didn't capture. Highlights on the front page, a few of them. If it's a bit of a myth debunker, I hope it is. 81% of the people we served were either employed or they were seniors living on fixed incomes or people with disabilities who couldn't work. So there were about 19% of the folks from Sedro who we worked with who weren't employed, and the rest were either unable to work or employed. And again, that's back to the housing cost and the cost of living, I think, is what that's back to. Just under 40% were kids under 17. It's 40% countywide. And 61% had a high school diploma or GED or higher level of education, which is higher than our countywide level. So that is what it is. On the back side, it's hard to capture everything that goes on in those interactions between our staff, our volunteers, and people who walk through our doors. But here's a collection on the back side of some of the lives from Sedro-Woolley. 140 households housed or prevented from being homeless. 708 had a critical need met, and again, I'll describe a little bit what that means in a second. 105 with basic food support. 1,207 households, that's not individuals, warmed through energy assistance. And 31 elderly or disabled helped to remain independent in their homes. I want to pull out the food distribution center, which is in Sedro-Woolley, in a second. But under equipping people to move it forward, you also see the gaining job readiness, the moms and infants and kids who got some nutrition support to start life. And you also see down in strengthening community, the nearly 3,500 volunteers. If you're curious about what we do, there's a fairly good list of services on the bottom here too that gives some sort of the range. Now our food distribution center, as you know, is here in Sedro-Woolley, and there's a long history to that. It's been around for a while now, and it works with wonderful partners like Helping Hands, which is a leading food bank in our county. I know you all are proud, and you should be proud of Helping Hands. And we enjoy that partnership as well. Usually our services are right there with people, and we're interacting with people in need. The food distribution center is a little less warm and cuddly, perhaps, than the rest of our services in terms of talking about it, because it's the infrastructure support for the food bank network. Last year, 2.5 million pounds of produce went through that food distribution center to the network of food providers in the community. 2.5. There was about 4.5 million pounds that went out in all. So more than half's coming through that center. For Helping Hands, that was just shy of 500,000 pounds of their food that they gave out, according to the numbers we have, about 1.2 million. So 500,000 pounds of that 1.2 million came through the Food Distribution Center, which is a big storage and warehouse facility. The other thing that we've been working on, and I know I've said this before to the council, is not only quantity but quality of food. And last year, local produce, 276,000 pounds of local produce went through there. You might have noted Take a Bite of Skagit happened. North Coast Credit Union puts that on for us each year. We take that money and we develop a relationship and buy local produce, and often local farmers throw in a bunch extra. We have a network of 22 farms that work with us. We've got capacity, and we work with folks like Helping Hands to get that out. So thank you for hosting that in Sedro-Woolley. It's a big deal. Not a lot of people know about it. And I won't go through the county numbers, but they are there as well. I wanted to just, again, quickly mention before talking just a little bit about critical needs, which you all invested in last year, that we are looking for a new facility. And that's the third handout. We've got about 13,000 square feet, and we are busting at the seams. If you've ever been through our place on a busy day, you will see that's true. The problem we're trying to solve is dignified service for people. And for instance, we do not have space to separate children from their parents who have just experienced domestic violence or substance abuse or are dealing with homelessness or other issues. That's the project we're working on. We looked at 18 to 20 sites in the Mount Vernon, Burlington area. We wanted to be centrally located for the entire county, and fell in on 160 Cascade Place in Burlington, which we're going to try to purchase by March of next year. We've kind of got an uphill, quick timeline. I can't guarantee we'll pull that off, but we are busting our tails to try to pull that off. That's 27,000 square feet. We need about 20,000 square feet for our services. We want about 7,000 square feet for other nonprofit partners to co-locate with us to better serve the community. If we can pull it off, we'll have a safe space for kids to be separate from their parents while they're being assessed or receiving services, a space for kids to receive homework support and educational support while their parents are also receiving employability support and educational pathway support, a center for Veterans Connections, a housing resource center that is expanded, something we're calling an opportunity center, which we hope to partner with financial institutions to get people backed and to give them help on cleaning up their credit history and the like. So we just wanted to let you know it is a little bit closer to Sedro, not much, 2.2 miles. But it's something we're working on, and I also wanted to let the mayor and the council and staff know that there will be some outreach to Sedro-Woolley. We're doing outreach around the county, so you might see that. We hope to have an event in Sedro-Woolley in September. So I just wanted to let you know. If you have any questions or comments about that, please let me know. My business card is there. And then, if I may, I'll just finish up by saying critical needs. Your 5400 was combined with contributions from churches, from the Salvation Army, from Skagit Valley Herald Christmas funds, from private donors. We have a minister who's trying to raise 1 million pennies. He's calling it the Mountain of Hope, and he's putting it into an investment, and the river from that investment out of his Mountain of Hope is feeding our critical needs funds. So we're combining, we were able to use your 5,400 to have 19,000 plus worth of support for Sedro-Woolley residents. Again, that multiplier effect. And some of the things we did with that, a 43-year-old single woman who was living in her car needed help with car repairs, and we gave her a voucher to an automotive shop for $138. A 57-year-old single disabled man who does not drive and walks to all his appointments needed shoes but had no money to buy any. We gave him a voucher for $13.55 to help him buy shoes. An 84-year-old woman who had been struggling to live independently on a fixed income. Her health had diminished to the point that mobility was a challenge, and we were able to get volunteers in and give her a voucher for $200 for the materials to get a wheelchair ramp. A 38-year-old single mother had been looking for work for a long time. She had just been hired for a job that would start the next week and needed gas to get to her new job, $25. Our client had obtained a job after a long bout of unemployment. In order to start his new job, he needed to get a food handler's permit. We gave him $10 to get a food handler's permit. A 25-year-old single mother with 2 children in custody of her teenage sister was in our family development center, our family shelter. She was a victim of a hit-and-run car accident, which left her with a substantial amount of damage to her car. There was no bus service to the place where she had a job, so she got $591 to fix her car. And that's the type of investment we're making with your funds, combined with other funds, to help people. Again, thank you for spending a few minutes with me. If you have any questions, happy to do that. At some point, perhaps we can come back and talk a little bit more about the facility. But again, thank you for your service and your partnership.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit while you're here about Project Homeless Connect?
Sure, I would love to. I love Project Homeless Connect. I'm in a Rotary Club, and I just wanted to say that I sweet talked them into giving away coats and clothes at Project Homeless Connect. So I'm happy to try to expand that. But August 25th, Skagit Valley College is Project Homeless Connect. I think last year we saw about 365, we say, guests. There are people either experiencing homelessness or on the verge of it, and there are probably 50 to 70 partners that come together. We organize a volunteer component of that. If you go online for Skagit Project Homeless Connect and want a really incredible volunteer opportunity on Friday, August 25th, that's how you sign up, and we can get you on board. But in the past, I have been a volunteer guide for that, and it's an intense, incredible experience to interact with people who are dealing with homelessness. It's also neat to see the community coming together, and all these service providers coming together to do all that stuff one day on one location. It's really quite the event, so thanks for asking about it.
Anyone else?
I just want to make a comment because I know that sometimes people run under the idea that community action is continually helping the same families and whatnot over and over again, when in fact the majority of families, you get them over that hump, you get them through that place where they can get on with their lives. So it's a great organization, and I think that you're doing a great job here in Skagit Valley. Thank you very much.
And the Opportunity Center really is about saying, hey, we want to stabilize lives, but we really want to get people moving forward. So how can we have the space and the focus and the programming and the partnerships to do that? And so we want to do that in a bigger and bigger way, and better way as well. So thank you.
Anybody else?
Family Promise, actually they have been a welcome addition to not enough resources in our community to fight homelessness. And our Housing Resource Center We have a family shelter. There's a Friendship House. There's Oasis Teen Shelter. And there's Skagit Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Services. And there's Anacortes Family Center. Family Promise stepped in and has been allowing us to say yes a lot more. We say no too much in terms of how we can help people, and we're just welcome the involvement of Family Promise and the networks of churches where members can have that interaction with people. So we really appreciate it. The other thing that Family Promise is doing is trying to find ways to take on more challenging work. Some of the work in homelessness is pretty challenging, and we appreciate them expanding that as well. So they're a valued partner.
Well, Bill, the Sedro-Woolley stats appear to be from the 98284 zip code. Is that correct?
They should be. Yes, that is correct.
And is it possible to drill into those? 98284 is about 2.5 times larger than the city. We just got a unique zip code. It spans 2 counties and is really large. And is there any way to drill into that
There is, yeah.
The city itself?
Almost all of that is the city itself, but there are numbers from outside the city of Sedro-Woolley, and we could do that. I'm sorry I didn't bring that tonight. Happy to do it and follow up.
It just provides a little bit more, just understanding the data is useful, so we kind of know, especially when you look at proportions, if we're measuring against 11,000 versus 26,000.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. We can do that, and I'll follow up with you, Aaron.
And I'll be happy to get that information back to the council as well, if you're interested.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill, for all you do and for coming tonight.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the hat tip to Helping Hands Food Bank. As you know, the new one is under construction. It looks great. Currently on city property that will someday be theirs. So we're happy to be part of that, and it's going to be awesome.
Thank you for that. We're really impressed. I must say, we're also impressed that you stepped forward to help the YMCA. That's a big deal. So thank you for that as well.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, we now move to, let me check the sheet here, public comment period. So if anyone would care to make public comment at this time, I'll remind you of the rules. Come to the podium. You have approximately 3 minutes to speak. Make sure you are addressing the council and not each other. I'd also like to mention that applause and hooting and hollering is not considered proper decorum, so try and control yourselves while people are going on. Anybody for a public comment period? Come on up. State your name and address.
Burke, and I live at 286 Cleaner Street in Sedro-Woolley, and I just wanted to say how much I appreciate the police department, the fire department, all the city hall people, and all the other people that work to help make Sedro-Woolley a wonderful place to live. Just have one little comment to make to say that I know we have
I think you pushed the button.
It's right in front.
I know we have a city code officer, Laura Carr, I think her name is, and she's very nice. Say special thanks to her and to Chief Tucker and all the other wonderful police and fire people. Anyway, to make a long story short, I know I've seen in the past a flyer or something came in the mail, like a little postcard thing that was very nicely presented about people that park on the sidewalks and on the grass where they don't belong. It looks like it makes your neighborhood look like a slum if people park on the grass. I don't appreciate that. It looks ugly. And people that park the wrong way on the street. I never lived I love this town, this area, but I've never lived in a city where so many people park the wrong direction. Maybe they just don't worry about that anymore. But where I used to live, you'd get a ticket if you parked the wrong direction. If you're going on the right-hand side of the road, you park that side. If you're going on the left side of the road, you park that way. You don't turn your vehicle around or go diagonally across to get to your spot. And I'm sure the police department is well aware of that. And also, just to say that I appreciate all the work you do in trying to enforce the rules, regulations, the city traffic code, yada, yada, and all the loose. That's another thing. I love animals. I love anything that's alive, moving. But there are so many people that don't understand the environmental impact as well as safety issues with loose dogs, maybe loose cats, and blah, blah, blah. That, I still see an occasional dog. Just the people just on my street, just let the dogs open the front door, let the herd of dogs run out, do their poopy pee-pee in somebody else's yard, don't pick it up, run back to their house, and then I've been told that unless you can catch it on
about 30 seconds.
Okay, that's great. Unless you can catch it on film or something, or the police officer is right out there to witness it, you're toast, because it's your word against somebody else's. And I understand that, but if they could snoop or park their car out there for a while, like a day, and watch the neighborhood and give people tickets for driving too fast through the neighborhood, they could catch these people that are letting their dogs run amok, you know what I'm saying? And then we have to pick up their dog poop. So thank you.
Thank you, Patsy. Anybody else for public comment? Yes, sir. George B. Ifel.
George Walmer, 1641 Highway 9, north of Sedro-Woolley. I'd like to comment to the gal that just talked, to tell her that appreciate your comments, and you ought to be glad you don't live in Seattle, because I went down there and parked, and there were no instructions as to how to park. And we were going down to see the last steamship, working steamship on the west coast of Virginia 5. And so I drove in like I do in Sedro-Woolley, like you would expect people to park.
You're addressing the council, George.
And so when I parked, I just drove in and put my handicap sign up, and I got a $300 and some fine. And so I went to appeal. In the process of doing that, I had to spend $35 to $40 for a parking space at one of these parking lots down there by the courthouse. And so then I got done with that, and that was in addition to the $20 to get down there and back, and fuel. And so my fine, I thought it was exorbitant, but the gal told me, yeah, you're supposed to back in. I said, what? Yes, you're supposed to back in. I said, well, I could have done that. I used to be a trucker, and that's not a problem, but there were no instructions. So she reduced the fine down to $25. Anyway, be glad you don't live in Seattle. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Anyone else for the public comment period? Okay, at this time I'll close public comment. No public hearing tonight. Unfinished business, there's none. New business, item 7, which is page 29 through 31 of your packets. And did you want to introduce that, Aaron?
Sure, thank you. I don't know about you, but I truly can't believe that this is the end of July already. It just seems like time's going by very quickly these days with lots of things happening here at the city. And this marks the beginning of our formal budget process for 2018. So this item is on your agenda tonight for consideration. You look at it every year to provide some touchstones for staff as we develop a budget to bring to the mayor, to bring to you for your consideration and ultimate adoption. And what you see in the packet on page 30 and 31 is last year's version. So I'm looking for updates and just anything you'd like to see changed as we move into next year.
I just noticed that we have kind of a duplication between the second bullet point under business, community, and city partnership. The second bullet point and the last bullet point. Seems like they can be kind of combined to make.
Yeah, so the second bullet point, I believe, was intended to be the broader partnership of working together with the chamber, the school, and the hospital, and we achieved that bullet point through a series of meetings that occur on a monthly basis with the chamber and a leadership group, with the school on a monthly basis to address specific school city issues, and the hospital also through the leadership group. I think that's separate from the intent of the last bullet, which was the creation of the STEM network. And you heard John reference that tonight. The Sedro-Woolley STEM network grew quicker than we'd anticipated into the Skagit STEM network. That was our goal, was to begin here, show success, and grow that beyond the Sedro-Woolley district to the county. And it really has taken on the life of its own. So
that's completed action and should come off.
Yeah, I think the develop is no longer appropriate. We could probably, call out the Skagit STEM network by name. We continue to support that network directly with dollars and staff time. So that's something to keep in mind. That continues to be something that has a direct city support.
I just have two comments on the list. Under infrastructure investments, I would like to change the wording on the first bullet where it says improving traffic mobility and safety through the city. I would like to strike mobility and just make it say improving traffic safety through city. I just think we're focused too much on people driving around and not enough on people walking around and biking. And I think if we can improve traffic safety through city, that greatly improves the quality of life for people who don't drive everywhere.
Well, I think we could take mobility out if you want, but I would encourage us to sub in some reference to the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is really what the mobility aspect, it's both about moving vehicles through, and we've got a whole host of projects that were intended to take, failing intersections up to non-failing standards. But as I see that, it's both that, and it's also mobility in terms of being able to move through the city in an ADA compliant fashion.
But I think traffic mobility means cars. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think maybe it's important to.
I think we're missing a comma. Improve traffic.
Well, I think traffic safety and maybe mobility, or maybe pedestrian mobility through town. And then second is just the renewal of the RCO funding for the Memorial Park. I know it says 2018. Was that the previous years? I mean, when do we have to resubmit it? 2019, is that right?
Yeah, so for Memorial Park, for the spray park, that would be a 2018 application for 2019 funding. So the final bullet was independent of the second to last bullet there. And the Parks Committee met today and will be bringing forth some recommendations in terms of some park and RCO issues looking forward. We can broaden those. But I want to go back, if you don't mind, to your prior point, because I don't think I'm understanding what you're trying to achieve on infrastructure improvements and the issue of mobility.
Well, to be honest, I don't necessarily care about cars driving through the city. They're going to get from one point to another regardless of how they get there. What I'm interested in is improving safety for pedestrians. So I want to strike mobility, because traffic mobility to me means automobile traffic. And what I'm interested in is increasing traffic safety, so cars driving through the city, making it safe for people outside of cars.
Well, I guess the question for the council as a group, understanding that that's the specific intent of the modification, I would read that to mean discontinue working on SR20 corridor projects to improve failing intersections and long queuing at places like, Cook and 20 and Ferry and 20 and 20 and 9 Township. Is that what the council wants? Or?
Well, as much as I know you like to promote trails and bicycles and traveling that way, but a harsh reality is that most people travel by cars, and our population is increasing, so we should at least have that in there as an element, because we do have to handle reality.
Well, isn't that, I guess, maintaining city streets, is that separate then? I mean, is that...
Well, I think maintaining city streets, as I understand it, we can certainly put more detail in here, is really what we're doing right now, is going out and doing pavement repair, chip seals, asphalt overlays, those sorts of things, crack sealing like was just done on Ferry and Cook and some other locations, improving traffic mobility. That key bullet, really does tie. It's building a new undercrossing at Jones and John Liner to allow vehicles from that part of the city to get out to Cook Road and off to I-5 without adding to the current congestion issues on Highway 20. It is the ability to move with vehicles through and around the city.
Well, then would it be appropriate then to add, improve pedestrian thoroughfares, or
maybe the fourth bullet, make the fourth bullet more robust in terms of sidewalk?
I think they're paired together. I think maybe it should be 1 and 2. I mean, but...
Might I suggest, Councilmember Sandstrom, we could add in improve all modes of traffic, mobility and safety. That would cover that. That's generally the way we look at that. And in fact, the Complete Streets program that the council has adopted and then updated recently, that was the point of our Complete Streets policy in a nutshell, to do just what you're suggesting. So we do have that as a separate policy, and I suppose we could even mention that in here if we chose, and just put Complete Streets in here in some manner, and that certainly would both meet the requirement that we have under growth management to deal with mobility for vehicles through the city, but also allow us or acknowledge that we already have a goal in mind. And council has been extremely supportive of all of the multimodal system improvements we've done over the last 10 years, and so that would maybe highlight that a little better, either to mention that as according to our Complete Streets policy, or to say all modes. Either way, we can wordsmith on that if you'd like some.
All modes. I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
Including bikes.
Well, this is a first look, so if you have other ideas that come to you, please bring them to Aaron, and we'll see what we can get incorporated. Anybody else have comments before we move to next? You're not giving up, Mark? Or Brett?
Well, no, I think I'm okay.
I still would like to see us do something with the roundabouts as far as beautifying.
That's
I remember
in here.
talking about this before when we did this the first time, and We haven't really talked about it since.
Yeah, so we've got beautify roundabouts, but I guess where the rubber meets the road is what exactly do we want to do? How do we fund it, and how do we maintain it?
And since I see all those trucks going straight through it,
Well, they can't go through the
Not
middle.
the center. We're talking about the center, like where you put plants or
Giant
artwork.
rocks, that would stop.
Signage.
So I would encourage maybe between now and the next reading, maybe think about the detail of that so we can translate that to a cost and imagine how it would fit in the 2018 budget and be maintained. Because I think that's really where we've struggled with beautify roundabouts. Nobody loves just plain rocks, although I think they're better than just the weeds. Neither of which are as good as the ornamental signage or the beautifully landscaped centers or the ones with artwork. I mean, there are a lot of examples in other communities of really beautiful roundabouts. Ours were not built that way specifically due to lack of funding for those elements and an inability to adequately maintain them without additional resources. So, it's not that this item is falling on deaf ears. It's really the question of how are we going to balance the different interests and make that, if that's the priority, what does it rise above?
Yeah, anything we build that requires maintenance is harder on our people that are already stretched. But
Well, we talked about that, though. We can do maintenance-free plants and look for volunteers. That's always a possibility.
agreed.
I would guess also under infrastructure investments, we would update our library partnership now that we're in a partnership arrangement with the district to align our language here is design, fund, and build a new library with makerspace and STEM laboratory. Probably align that language to the 3 interlocal agreements.
Yeah, makes sense.
I guess last on the innovative recreational development, what about, I've been thinking about this for a while, is creating a Parks and Recreation department, but maybe not necessarily paid, like if a volunteer wants to run, like a home run derby for kids, could they use the city's insurance to, cover whatever that is? I mean, I'm interested in kind of like a fledgling Parks and Rec department where we actually not just maintain, but maybe have groups or volunteers out there doing things with the community. Is that, how would you, I don't know how to word it, but I mean, we have expanded recreation opportunities, but what about seeing how volunteers could partner with the city to using city facilities and insurance to see it through? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so what would be really helpful from my perspective is if you were able to find an example of a community that's, that's sort of an incubator. Is there some element of city infrastructure that could allow somebody to come in on a shoestring or virtually no budget, but with sweat and good ideas and energy, make something cool happen? And maybe the skate competition's an example of something that came in really pretty small at the beginning and has become something that's now a fixture and recurring event. I don't know. A couple examples would be helpful to think about how we can make that work.
Well, I guess I have, my idea is, the movie The Sandlot? Well, like I want to, like borrow the community center, show, have like a movie night, have kids watch that movie, and then the next day do like a home run derby where it's just kids not doing it for, competitiveness, but just for fun and just giving an outlet to, because there is no, you look in those programs, Burlington has all these great programs for kids, and Mount Vernon has all these great programs, and Anacortes, but Sedro really doesn't get to offer anything really. All the camps are not here, and so I'm interested in being able to serve our kids, but without money. Something simple like borrowing the community center in a ball field. And how can we do that where it's sanctioned by the city?
I would say if you have a specific proposal, I'd put it together and bring it to the Parks Committee. which you're on.
Yes. I didn't know we had.
Which you just missed.
I know.
So it seems to me that
The other one I wonder about is the third bullet in that same section on the NSRA. We've had that in there for a number of years, and ultimately that's not within the city's limits. So I guess we could be cheerleaders for it, but the Northern State Recreation is in our urban growth area, but it's a wholly county-owned park, and I see our role with that is through our partnership with the Port of Skagit and the county in terms of developing access thoroughfares from Fruitdale and McGarrigle through the Swift Center and into the NSRA. I see us being part of that, but I'm not sure. It says commence improvements. I think maybe more appropriate wording would be, support partnership or something of that nature.
I agree, because that's what we're doing. We just met on possible use of that as a central point for trails once it's available to the public. But it's a connectivity thing, and we don't have any say over Northern State Recreation Area, so it's kind of silly of us to have it in there.
Yes.
But it's a master plan and it's our backyard. I don't see why we would want to omit it.
Well, I'm suggesting just subbing support partnership for commence improvements.
Yeah, we're working with them, but we don't have any say in that area. It'd be like, you could just keep going.
I agree, too.
North Cascades, Montana. I mean, it's not our stuff.
Yeah.
I agree partnership is good, because I'm running across people all the time that have no idea about the trail network up there, and we can promote that. There's no reason why we can't. The fantastic trail network up there.
Got enough for now, Aaron?
Yeah, the key. So when we take the budget, we take our projections looking into 2018. We present those to department heads who take the first draft of making expenditure requests, and we ask them to tie any expenditure requests, particularly anything new, to your critical goals and objectives. So there's some touch that it's, we're trying to do what you want done. And so for very specific items, it's useful just to know what exactly, go back to the beautify roundabouts. As it sits, that would be a very unlikely item to see come into the mayor's balanced budget, because it could be a couple $1,000 for a student art project, or it could be $100,000 for a master landscaping plan. And when we sit down and actually balance the budget in Sedro-Woolley with everything we've got going on, that's a pretty easy item to not fund in comparison to everything else out there. So I guess I just want to pull the curtain back a little bit and say, if you've got items like that you really want to rise to the top, then we need to have a more detailed discussion earlier about what exactly you want to do there, so we can find a way to get that through the process. So, not tonight, just in thinking. That's an example of something that's been on the list. I know it's a point of disappointment in the community in terms of the aesthetics, but there are lots of areas where we're trying to do a lot of things, and they all cost money.
Okay, so we have two late items. First up, I'll let you kick this one off, Aaron, the memo to the council that you have in front of you dated 26th. The issue is exemption of Patsy Nelson from residency requirements under Municipal Code 2.66.
Sure, and I apologize. I actually have three late items. I got one sent to me just a couple of hours ago related to the food bank, which we can go through last. It seems to be time sensitive. So the first one I think is fairly straightforward. Our Municipal Code, Chapter 2.66, requires 6 staff positions to reside within the city. Those 6 positions include the city supervisor, police chief, fire chief, finance director, planning director, and public works director. Of those 6, the city supervisor, police chief, planning director, public works director were all exempted from the residency requirement. So we have two who are under that code section and in fact do live in the city. Obviously a couple of us who had been exempted do currently live in the city as well. So Patsy and Bert have decided to sell their home, and they're selling it to their kids. And the exciting part of it is the kids want to be in before the school year starts. So that's why this is coming to you now, is it turns out there's a lack of available housing in Sedro-Woolley. So we haven't heard that already tonight.
Never heard that. Yeah.
So, Patsy's requested the exemption under 2.66. She doesn't want to have to buy a house on the, in the next 30 days. She'd like to be able to relocate to a rental property and figure out where she wants to go. And so, our request.
Can I change this motion a little bit?
Sure. It's your
I would
motion.
like to move that we do away with Sedro-Woolley Municipal Code 2.66.
I can bring you back an ordinance that would do just that.
I think that's the wiser thing.
Well, perhaps in the long term, but
Tonight, I move that Patsy Nelson be exempt from the residency requirement under Sedro-Woolley Municipal Code 2.66.
I second it.
okay, the motion was made by Councilmember Judith Dunley, seconded by Councilmember Johnson to exempt Patsy Nelson from the residency requirements under Municipal Code 2.66. I would only add to that, I bring your attention to page 44 of your packets, where once again, Patsy Nelson has earned a Professional Finance Officer Award for the state of Washington, so we need her.
Yeah.
And,
Congratulations, Patsy.
any other discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
Great, thank you very much.
Motion carries, and then you have some direction to bring back, do the staff work for possible rescinding of that requirement.
All right. The next item on my list is should not be a surprise to you. This is follow-up to the action that the City Council took following executive session at the last meeting. It's proposed resolution 96817. We're in the process of acquiring the property that we discussed, that half acre off of Sap Road, and our friends at the escrow company in Everett would like to have evidence that we can do that. It's actually the first time I've run into that scenario. They wanted minutes, and I told them I'd actually be more comfortable just providing a resolution. So this resolution does two things. It clearly delegates authority to the mayor to sign the closing documents for the acquisition, and two, it allows Patsy to issue a manual check, or in this case a wire transfer, in the amount of the purchase. You'll recall that you authorized us to purchase the property for $20,000 plus our share of closing costs. Our purchase price is actually going to be $17,838.99. So we're good to go, and I think we're able to close this transaction tomorrow. Your adoption of Resolution 96817 will allow the mayor to sign the documents to the title company's satisfaction and allow Patsy to actually transfer the funds.
So the difference in the number shown, 15,750, is the difference between?
Closing costs.
Okay.
So it's 15,750 plus closing costs. So
I got you.
And the total was, again, please?
$17,838.99.
Thank you.
I'm looking for a motion to adopt Resolution 96817.
I move that we adopt Resolution 968-17.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Cornegay, seconded by Councilmember Kinzer to adopt resolution number 96817, authorizing the mayor to execute necessary documents to acquire real property. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. and it carries.
Great, and then the last item, and I apologize again for having 3 late items. This one I literally got emailed to me late this afternoon. Our friends at Helping Hands have applied for and been given some sort of a bridge financing package through Heritage Bank. And Heritage Bank has requested that we execute the landlord's estoppel certificate, which is what I've given you. This agreement essentially says that we are confirming the existence of the lease between the city and Helping Hands, that Helping Hands is not currently in default of the lease, and that if they are in default, we will give the bank notice and opportunity to cure the default. Default's pretty tricky for them. They only pay, they don't pay much. So I was pretty clear with them in the process when this first came up a few weeks ago. They said they needed something signed, and I said, well, I sure hope it's not a subordination agreement, because that's a no-can-do, and they assured me it wasn't. And then I didn't think anything of it until I got the email today saying we're trying to close tomorrow. So this is what they'd like, what they need to close the loan. I don't see that it's any skin off the city's nose. It doesn't change our relationship with the food bank. It just allows the bank to step into the food bank's shoes and be our tenant in the event that the food bank defaults on the loan with Heritage. And for this one, I'd like you to give me the authority to sign it so I can save the mayor a trip to Burlington tomorrow. I have to go over there anyway. So I'm looking for a motion to authorize the city supervisor to execute the landlord's estoppel certificate with Heritage Bank.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the city supervisor to sign the landlord's estoppel certificate with Heritage Bank.
A motion was made by Councilmember Sandstrom, seconded by Councilmember Owen, authorizing the city supervisor to sign landlord's estoppel certificate with Heritage Bank. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. And it carries. Thank you, Council. That moves us on to committee reports. Chief?
Just one thing tonight, and it kind of goes along with some of the stuff we've already heard tonight. The lack of affordable housing. A young man decided to take up residence in a dumpster at one of the banks, was picked up by the garbage truck, dumped in back of said garbage truck. Fortunately, he was not injured in any way. But about 6:30 this morning, Glenn Gardner, one of the recycle truck drivers, just happened to roll down his window of his garbage truck at the right minute and heard yelling and banging on the truck. Stopped, and there was somebody in it, and the guy had been sleeping in the cardboard recycle. This isn't the first time. It's the first time it's turned out okay. But he was a 21-year-old young man who's from Mount Vernon, is just traveling around homeless. It's kind of a happy ending there. He actually jumped out of the truck, ran away, and officers chased him down to make sure he was okay and figure out where he was and what was going on. Make sure there wasn't anybody else with him. And oddly enough, he didn't want to stay in Sedro-Woolley after that. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Lucky fellow. Dean had to go, so that leaves you, John.
Yeah, when Dean was leaving.
Dean, just so you know, the fire at Riverfront was a fire in a Little Chief smoker next to the electrical connection by one of those, actually the RV you were talking to this morning.
Okay.
So no big damage, nobody was injured.
All right.
Except Nathan, who's on the job down there trying to fix it.
Okay, John.
Okay, so I've got a couple items tonight. Got an update on the former mill site grant application. So to fill everybody in, we had applied for grant funding through the Department of Ecology to do Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental study of the potential contamination at the former mill site. And we got a signed agreement of entry from the property owner and submitted the application. There's been trouble with funding for the state biennium. It's EPA money, and so they weren't sure what was going to happen in this next coming biennium. So everything kind of got put on hold until just now they found out they still have about $15,000 left in last biennium. So they're offering us to do the phase 1 study under this ending biennium, with that $15,000. So they're looking for us to do that. And so with the change of scope, then we would be able to apply in the next biennium, assuming there's going to be money, for the phase 2 environmental work. The benefit of that is that actually we don't have to be done by August like we did under the previous one. So we don't have any guarantee at this moment, but we are splitting our grant application into two different sections there. And it's looking pretty good on the phase 1, and once we get our foot in the door, we're kind of expecting that the next biennium, if there's money available, we'll be at the front of the line to get that phase 2 work done. Phase 1 work is mostly just book work, going over title and history of any environmental documents to see what might have happened there. They'll do like one site visit. The phase 2 is actually they'll go out and poke and prod and dig and cut and see if there's anything out there. So that's the update on that. There's no action from the council necessary because we've authorized the mayor. The council has authorized the mayor to authorize these any changes in something like this. Then the other item is one of the property owners in the newly appointed urban growth area is getting ready to submit an intent for annexation. So what that means is, as part of the annexation process, first the applicant's required to write a letter to the council saying, hey, we're thinking about annexing. How does the council feel about that? The council will then schedule a meeting to discuss it, and I won't get into a whole bunch of the details, and then more or less think about what the possibilities are if the city's ready to annex it, and make a determination of whether we will accept a full petition from the property owner or say, maybe not right now. So we're expecting that first step to happen, and we'll definitely give you all the details on how the process is going to go through, but that first step looks like it might be happening in the near future. Annexations take a lot of time. It's a slow process. It's a lot of work for staff. So just wanted to let you know we'll be doing what we can with the staff that we have on that project. A lot of projects getting underway. We accepted a large check today for an apartment complex going in, so they've picked up their permits and they should be getting rolling on the groundwork. You can see across the street there's 6 units, live-work units, that are getting ready to be started as well there. And then, of course, down on Rita Street, we got a new street and 48-unit apartment building starting to look like what it's going to look like. It's reached its max height, and they're putting the rafters on. The roof will be coming shortly. So what you see is about the size of that project going in. The 7,000 square foot commercial in front, you can see, is all but ready, except for driveways and all of that around it. And a couple of tenants are already picked out for that.
Nice.
along with the Rita Street road that went in, the Public Works Department had put sewer stubs out to a lot of those properties that didn't have sewer in the first place. So we're getting a handful of those folks connecting to sewer, which is a very good thing. So there's lots going on, as well as the other project out on Highway 20. You've seen a lot of dirt moving around, so you've seen a lot of projects going around. It's keeping us quite busy.
John, may I ask, on here there's a, what's it called, the applied building permits, there's a 206 West Talcott Street. Where is that? Because I couldn't find it on a map or on the county website.
Yes, we changed the address.
Okay.
So that's one of the Rita Street properties, the vacant one where we had ordered the abandoned single-wide mobile home to be removed a couple of years ago. They've sold the property, and they've elected to face the house towards West Talcott instead of Rita Street, so it seemed to make more sense to call it the Talcott address now.
Okay.
So good catch on that one, yeah. I didn't recognize that address either.
Thanks.
So before we move on to Mark, I want to talk a little bit about the Phase 1 and Phase 2 and why we've applied for that money to do that. So everybody knows the old mill project has languished over there, and it's been kind of an attractive nuisance. The brush grows up, we haven't cut it, it grows up again. Lots of bad stuff happens right there, and we'd like to see it in a productive use, but there's always been this sort of mystery about what's really there under the ground, and you hear rumors, and uncertainty is bad for investors. So here's a chance to use money that it's not the city's money to get some certainty on what's on that site so that an investor can come and know that either the site's clean, there's no problem, or it's going to cost me $100,000 to clean it up, or maybe more, we don't know. But the uncertainty is keeping people away, and this is a chance for us to find out with some certainty so investors can be more comfortable when they come in. And hopefully that'll be a productive site sometime in the future, and we don't have to pay for it. So that's what that's all about.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it also will identify when the pollution happened and maybe tie any pollution to previous owners, not really releasing any future owners, but also putting financial burden on previous owners and not necessarily all on the current, the purchaser. No, I don't know how you get money out of somebody that, company that's long gone, but...
Well, you're right. There's a chain of responsibility that's never broken there.
And the magic is an old insurance policy. That's what's gold in these cases, is insurance companies didn't know to exclude Matka back in the day. So you find a policy from the 60s or 70s, and they may be on the hook for 90% of the cost.
Anyway, right now we don't know what we don't know, and the purpose of this is to find out something about what we don't know. Mark, you're up.
Yes, a quick update on some of the projects that are going on around town. The Cascade Trail project, they just about finished the storm drain work today in terms of getting the pipe in the ground. And they're pouring sidewalk coming in behind them and curbs, so I expect that's going to wrap up easily by the end of August and be done.
Better for walking and bicycles.
Indeed it is, 3,000 feet more. We'll be signing that, by the way, as a shared use pass, similar to what we've done on the other parts, and I'll be talking to Council of Governments as to whether we should sign that as U.S. Bike Route 10 as well. U.S. Bike Route 10 is designated on Highway 20 up to Sedro-Woolley, but currently they show it on side streets. I think it's on West State, maybe roads, it goes out to Minkler. But it'll make more sense, especially if we're successful with building what we received funding, partial funding for between Township and Fruitdale for folks that are transitioning east and west out across the Cascades to stay on that route through the town, and we think that's going to work out really well. The crack sealing project finished today. They did the work yesterday on Cook Road. Anybody that drove through there no doubt noticed that. But that's finished now, and they did a good job, and we'll get the bills and get that paid. The emergency repair project started on Monday, and they finished Township, Jameson, and they're working on F&S Grade Road. They did Sap Road today. We had to cut the scope back a little bit. One of those surprises that happens sometimes. Two of the roads that we were doing, Township and North Reed, are really not that old of pavements. Township was done like in '06 as a part of the sewer project. Well, and I didn't find out the history until I was having a discussion with Aaron about it. But due to the way that sewer project went, they ended up basically doubling the thickness of asphalt, and it did not get reflected in our as-built drawings. The as-built showed 2.5 inches. It's actually 5, which almost doubles the cost for the repair work. And so I've been in negotiations with the contractor about that, and we have a gentleman's agreement on how that's going to happen. I think it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000, 20 to 25. I have signature authority on changes up to 25. If it's under that, I'll execute a change order and bring it to you. Otherwise, I'll bring it to you the next time and deal with it afterwards. We did shorten up a little bit on what we were planning to do, but we are going to complete the complete TIB scope of work so that we can maximize that particular $50,000 grant. That thickness problem occurred on Reed Street, too, from Highway 20 up to basically Jones Road, or John Liner, excuse me. So we're sorting through that. The chip sealing project is, we're basically ready on our end and just waiting for the county crews to show up and do that chip sealing work. We may have to cut that back a little farther because of this issue with the emergency repairs so we can stay in our overall street budget. I do want to alert you, though, that that would be a good use for some additional TBD funds, and so I'll look at all of that and get that worked out and bring that back to you in that first meeting in August. The CIPP sewer project is out to bid. It closes on the 3rd. We've got good interest on that, and we're expecting good bids, and we'll get that underway yet this summer. You've probably seen some stakes and some markings along Highway 20 from Collins Road to SR9 South, basically overlapping our project for part of that length. DOT is going to be doing a paver on that, and they'll be doing that here in July starting. That work's going to be done at night, so it should be a minimal disruption to the traveling public. But we're glad to see that. And I think I've mentioned before, they're also planning to pave Highway 20 the rest of the way across the city in 2018, and then Highway 9, yay, we've been waiting for that for a long time. So those are good news things that are coming up. And as I've been reporting, I'm working on the TIB applications. I have Fruitdale pretty well ready. I'm just waiting on the final revised engineer's estimate from Lochner, and I'll finalize that. And I'll be doing one to support the rest of that, the funding for that sidewalk project, path project on Highway 20 north side from Township to Fruitdale, and also the paver project on West State Street. I'll have a memo for you to look at to confirm the matching funds commitment by council at the first meeting in August, and the applications are due on August the 18th. And as John mentioned, this annexation is perhaps going to speed up our process of doing the sewer study that has to be done in order for the county to certify any annexation up in that area. It was a requirement of our changes that we did with them last year in the comp plan. We were initially planning to do that in-house due to workload. If it has to go quicker than this fall, we'll have to bring a contract consultant in to do that. And our capacity analysis work on the wastewater plant is essentially done. One thing that we found to be a glaring issue with that when they sent us the final report is that we were relying on a hydraulic study that was done on the plant when it was designed in 1998 when it was last upgraded. Unfortunately, the engineering firm that did that work is out of business, and we have not been able to find a successor who has a copy of the files for that hydraulic analysis work. It is a red flag problem with the analysis that we've done in this new one. We've assumed that their design was correct, but we have already found a couple places where it was not. I'm uncomfortable enough about it that I've requested a price from Brown and Caldwell to basically reverse engineer the hydraulic profile of the plant. And basically what that is looking at how the water goes through the plant, what kind of losses there are in efficiency through the pipes and structures and stuff. It's about $13,000, and I'll bring that to you as an amendment the next council meeting as well, so we can kick that off and not leave it with all of this effort we've gone to produce this capacity analysis, something that may come back to bite us. I'm just not comfortable with that, and so I'll bring that back to you as well. That's pretty much it.
Okay, question about Alexander. So I saw the county doing their chip seal down at Riverfront today and on the county portion. Is their proximity to Alexander mean that might be imminent? Or are they doing that in sections, or
they should be
unrelated?
doing it within the month of August. That's what I'm understanding. So,
okay.
They've done a lot of the short streets off of Fruitdale, the county small cul-de-sacs. They did those in the last couple of weeks, and now they're doing the long line stuff. And our stuff is all long line work, so they'll catch it as a part of that.
Okay, thank you. Aaron?
So the Central Schedule Partial County Library District approved the 3 interlocal agreements at their meeting well, I guess that was last week. So those agreements have now been executed, and the first meeting of the pre-design committee was today with 3 representatives from the district and 3 from the city. And we're just beginning the process now of mapping out the scope of work with the architect team and identifying dates looking forward for the public process. So stay tuned, and we'll have dates for public process and other meetings to hold on your calendar shortly. That's it for me tonight.
Patsy?
Thank you, Council, for the exemption for the residency requirement. Bert and I both prefer and enjoy living within the city limits, but as you've heard, there's not too many places available right now, and this relieves us of a bit of pressure until we can find what we really want. So again, thank you. The 2018 budget calendar is on page 40 of your packet, so you can check that out and see what things you have to look forward to at future meetings this year. And I would like to mention that we hired Amanda Miller as a seasonal employee in the finance department. Amanda lives here in town, and she is really a quick learner, has caught on very well. Cheryl's done an excellent job training her in cash receipting and computer usage, and so we're excited to have her on board, and it's been a real relief to have a little bit of time to work on some of those projects that we never get around to doing. So thank you for including that in the budget.
Okay. Judith?
I don't have a thing.
Jermaine?
I just wanted to say huge success at the candidate forum. That was really wonderful. I would just suggest that for the general election that we do it before ballots come out, maybe. But from what I was told, we had like 3 times the participation from, lots more crowd than Mount Vernon even. So that was from Don. So he said that we had 3 times more people here to listen. So I'm really glad we did it.
So the candidate forum for the general is on October 18th, and I guess the election must be November 7th. I think ballots come out about 21 days. We should be close. The ballots might come out the weekend before or right after the forum, so we ought to be close.
I think that'd be, yeah.
So I tried, in picking the dates, I was trying to pick times when Don was available, I was available, and the room was available. So,
That's close. Thanks.
Brenda?
The only thing I have is the Northern State Preservation Group will be doing a public work party up at Northern State Hospital Cemetery on August 12th. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that, the cemetery up at Northern State Hospital, which is on the east side of the recreation area, has about 750 grave markers up there, and the majority of them sink into the ground and need to be trimmed every year so that they're visible and they can receive the respect that they deserve. So we're going to be having a public work party up there August 12th at 10 o'clock, if anyone is interested.
If there's pizza, I'm interested.
If you bring the pizza, we'll have pizza.
Darn. Okay. Julia? Chuck? Rick?
No, sir. Nice to be back.
Brett? Let's see, what did I write down to talk about? Oh, the new magazine is out, so hopefully you've had a chance to look at that. I appreciate all the people who advertise in it, and I appreciate the people who did articles. Thank you very much. Next one is coming soon, so if you have material, please get it into Jana. And I attended the free concert down at the Riverfront Park on Sunday. It was very well attended. It was a lot of fun. Couldn't really have been any better, with the exception that the food vendor didn't show up. So if somebody has a nonprofit group who wants to make some money, senior class or I don't know who, that would help make that event a little bit better. Now, we have to go into executive here for about 15 minutes under RCW 4230-110, subparagraph 1.b, which is acquisition of real estate where public disclosure may increase the price. So at 8:49, we'll go into executive session. Okay, it's 9:08, and we are back from executive and back in session.
Until what?
No action?
Like this thing.
Without objection?
I move that we adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn.
Aye.